Oh, he's my brother, Ryan.
Don't leave.
Oh, no, we're not rolling.
All right, we have a quorum. We'll get started because it's 6:31.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, everyone have his agenda?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. Oh, there she is. I said we're waiting for you. You're always on time.
Yeah, she's on time. 6:30.
Here's the agenda, the letter. Everyone got this letter? Okay. All right, so we'll get started. Make a motion to open the Finance Committee meeting for October 3rd at 6:30. All's in favor?
Aye.
All's opposed? All right, we'll go right down the agenda. Agenda item number 1, make a motion removed from the table.
Second. So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
All's opposed? It's in order that the sum of $112,000 be appropriated from 0430, sale of real estate, Chapter 44, Section 63, for the purpose of purchasing 3 new police cars. Now, I'll make another motion that we take up item number 2 as well and go with that.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
All's opposed? And I'll explain it. Really, it's the same thing, but what happened was when it first came in as a filing, it was improperly filed pursuant to some request. So it was refiled as a late file, so I took them up together. They're one and the same.
How much do we have in free cash?
We don't have free cash certified yet.
Nothing certified?
Yeah.
Where would this come from then?
This is coming from, we'll explain it. We'll have the chief come in. Chief, come on in, please. You come in, chief, take a seat.
Well, the officer, he can come in.
Both of you can come in, yeah. We don't bite. So Chief, how are you?
Good, thank you for having me here tonight, councilors. Just the short version of this is we're in desperate need of cars. The funding source for this particular money, I believe, is coming from auctioned property, which was the last time we bought cars. We're in desperate need. Our cars are in very rough shape. The last time we actually acquired vehicles was 3 cars, and that was in spring of 2015. So it's been 18 months since we've actually acquired cars. Please realize most of our fleet has high mileage on it, and it puts my officers and the public at risk going on emergency runs in these high mileage vehicles. The other thing to remember is even if these 3 vehicles get approved, there's a time process to get them. It takes considerable time to get them purchased, fitted, and equipped and out onto the street. So the reality is we probably wouldn't see these till the spring of 2017. So then it'd be 2 years without any cars. And in years past, we used to get 6 or 7 cars every 12 to 18 months. That's gone by the wayside, and now the cars are dying, and my officers need cars.
Jimmy?
Yeah, thank you, sir. I was talking to a police officer just the other day, and when he had pulled over, I just happened to notice, maybe it was because of this order, I looked down and his front left wheel only had 4 nuts on it. There were missing nuts on the tire. And so I'm thinking to myself, that can't be safe. The reason I'm saying this is I am talking in favor of buying these police cars. I'm totally in favor of it, but what you guys have now, it just seems very unsafe. And at the same time, this police officer, I won't mention his name, but he also said, he goes, not only are these cars in very poor condition, but the radio system. He said, God forbid if something happens to a police officer, it's going to be one of 2 things. One of the cars or the radio system going down. And so I think we should also address at some point the radio system as well. But tonight we're focusing on the vehicles, and I'm certainly in favor of this. Thank you.
Peter?
Chief, thanks for coming down, and I am totally aware of the need for vehicles with your department. These 3 vehicles, will they be the SUV-type vehicles?
Yes, they would go right into our line fleet, and they'd go right to the patrol officers.
Okay. And are these vehicles, is that price, is that including everything with it, the vehicle? And the equipment?
Pretty much almost everything. Anything extra, we'll beg, borrow, and steal to put together, so to speak, to put the cars on the road.
And on a yearly basis, what is the total miles each cruiser goes approximately?
Chip?
Per vehicle?
About 45,000 per year.
Okay, and you stated the last time was, that you got these vehicles was
Spring of 2015.
15? Okay, thank you.
Linda?
Thank you. Can we just get an update on that account and what the balance is that's in it and how it got there?
Yeah, this is,
So we know what we have to work with?
I'll request an update. Is Bellamy here at all? Oh, hey, well, hey, there we go. See how fast that was, Linda? You know, we just,
I know.
This is the account into which we put funds from the sale of properties that the city has foreclosed on. You may recall that our treasurer had a sale of properties in the month of June, I believe, and that is going to bring in approximately $240,000, of which about $130,000 has been collected so far, and more comes in every day as different properties are closed, go through the legal process of closing. 2 years ago, when we bought the 3 police cars that the chief referred to, we used exactly the same source from money that John Lumbra had obtained by doing a similar sale of properties in September of, 13 or 14. And he brought in about $130,000. That was enough to buy 3 police cars back then. Clear?
Thank you. It's good to know we have enough there to cover it.
yeah, just as he mentioned.
Bellamy, don't go away.
Same account as last time for when we purchased the last 3. Deal?
Chief, what is the plan? I mean, 3 cars, they're not going to carry far. What is the plan? I mean, do you have a plan? When are you planning on getting more
Well,
cars?
we used to do 6 cars every 12 to 18 months roughly. That plan has gone by the wayside.
Yep.
We had discussions about doing 3 cars every year, which was fine, but that seemed to have gone by the wayside too. I know there's a big bond proposal coming your way, and in that is cars. And we would still be looking for more cars.
Thank you.
Dave?
Yeah, so Bellamy, just walk me through this process here. So the treasurer had the auction.
Correct.
The funds are transferred to you, and then what do you do? Do you tell every department head that we now have a $240,000 source? Oh, you don't do that? Okay,
No,
so
no,
how's the process work? So how does it get to the police chief? Because it happened 2 years ago under the former treasurer.
Right.
And so this is now becoming another police account, almost seems like, for vehicles.
It was simply a precedent that we used it two or whatever it was, 2 years ago, because there was no other source of funds. So when this source came, the chief was asking for cars again, and the mayor agreed, yes, let's use this source, as we did before.
What do you
Now,
mean? What do you mean?
There's
What do you mean
another
a precedent?
$140,000 coming in, that may be used for police cars, it may be used for DPW trucks, we don't know, it'll depend on what the needs are when we
So
get the rest of
were
the money.
other department heads notified?
No,
No.
No.
Okay, now, that's what I wanted to make clear.
no.
That's what I want to make clear to the public. And that's why I motioned to have this go to committee instead of having us railroaded at the city council hearing on September 6th. So no other department head, despite having equally important needs, are notified of this. I don't think that's reasonable, Bellamy. And I would suggest that the other department head should be put on fair notice that their funds are available for perhaps capital needs. I mean, is the mayor notified that these funds are going to be available for capital long-term needs?
Yes, the mayor decided that this was the priority for these
Great.
funds based on a whole list of capital requirements from all departments that we collect every year, and that actually was used as the basis of putting together the bond that I believe has been submitted to the council to evaluate.
Okay, and how many cruisers are paid for if we pass the bond or recommended in the bond?
I believe there were 6, but you asked the chief.
The bond amount, I believe, is 180, which would pay for about 5 cars.
And what's the fleet, chief?
In what way?
The size of the
43 vehicles.
43 vehicles. Okay, and your long-term plan for swapping them out is every, what is the long-term plan?
Well, we were operating 6 cars every 12 to 18 months, and that seemed to be working fine. And then that went by the wayside. Then we had the discussion about 3 cars every 12 months, which would be helpful, but we're not even at that. We're doing 3 cars every 2 years at this point. Counselor, I think it's great that we found another money source, because what has traditionally paid for this in the past has been the capital, the free cash fund coming in. Every year we ask for cars, every year we come through, and I realize the city doesn't have a lot of money, and we're trying to identify sources of money to pay for that. I think it's great that we identified a source a couple of years ago, and we can utilize this source again. I think that's a fantastic thing, as opposed to it didn't exist before.
I'm sure you do think it's great. I think it's great, too. I bet the DPW chief would think it's great, and the fire chief would think it's great, wouldn't he? Wouldn't they think it's great, chief? I mean,
Counselor, I don't know.
I'm not knocking the department. It's just a lack of notice to all the other department heads is, to me, not fair. Thank you.
If I may.
Diosdado?
I think that we need to bring the mayors in. I mean, the mayor is the one who handled the budget, and I think that we're going after the chief without, in my opinion, with all due respect, I think that you're picking the wrong fight. I think we need to follow an order and bribe the mayor and make sure that we have a good plan, because this is crazy. I mean, having the police department without cars doesn't make sense. So, thank you.
Chief, with regards to this, if this is approved, you're going to get 3 cars, and then some of my questions were answered. For the bonding, you're looking for about 5 cars in the bond, and so that would, in essence, give you 8. But then what is, and everyone keeps saying a plan, what's the plan for after that? Because you and I have talked about this all over the time. I'm always about getting you the cars. It used to be in the budget proposal to give you 6 cars every year, because that made sense as the budget kind of dwindled at funds. You and I agreed maybe 3 per year was a little bit more easier to handle, and somehow that wasn't accepted. So my issue is, assuming everything gets passed, you now have 8 cars. Are we going to wait another 2 years?
I would not wait till we're in critical stage to ask for cars again. What comes before you is really up to my boss.
But that's my whole point is, what is the plan? I mean, a bond.
So if we can get to a certain point in a decent fleet, I would think, whether it's 6 cars every 12 to 18 months or 3 cars would be fantastic. But again, that's going to come back to, I'll come back here a year from now, and we're going to go, what's available for funds? Right? Or maybe it's 18 months from now.
Do you put in your budget proposal 112,000 for cars each and
Not in
every
the
year?
operating budget, but every year I put cars in the capital expenditure wish list.
And how many you put in? 3, 6? How many?
I couldn't tell you, I don't have that report in front of me, but we put in for cars every
But
year.
it's put in each and every year?
Yes, it is.
All right. Any other questions? for the chief?
Make a motion to pass it.
All right, so
Second.
just on this, we're going to make a motion to pass it, and the other one would just be to deny, because the way it was filed. So I'm not blaming you, Bellamy, that was just one of the consensus. So I'm just making sure. So one is to approve, and then one would be to deny. So we'll take up item number 1, which I do believe is the correct one. I'll confirm that, it'd be either or. So the motion is to approve agenda item number 1. All those in favor? All those
Aye.
opposed? And then item number 2, just for formality purposes, would be
Motion to deny.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bellamy, I thought it was fine, just putting that out there.
I think the only thing wrong was it didn't have Kevin Jordan's name in it. It
That's
had
all
your
right,
name.
that's all right.
I think that's what he didn't like about it.
All right, so that one's done, and thank you both for coming down that one. It'll be on tomorrow's agenda, Chief, so
Okay.
it'll go to full city council tomorrow, it'll be taken up.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have a question, or?
No, I just wanted to thank you. I hope it can get passed through tomorrow night. We're in desperate need of cars. Yeah, we do. Yeah, that or we'll be walking. Thank you.
Segways. They got stolen.
All right, make a motion, to move item agenda number 3.
Second.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This is a financial transfer request of $270,210.07 from stabilization fund to claims and damages. I guess we'll call up,
What do we have here to
we'll
speak?
call the legal department. Because it's going to claims and damages. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
There,
Thank
right?
you.
Sarah, yes. You'll have to bear with me on this because Kara had worked on this before, and I know she had communicated with the committee about this, so I'm picking this up now, and hopefully I can answer everyone's questions, but if not, I can certainly get back to you with the information.
Okay, so this is for, 394 High Street, the taking of that building.
Yep, so this is a settlement agreement for the property owners of 394 High Street. The basis of this is because of the Essex House, because of the demolition, and, well, first the collapse and then demolition. The property owners were displaced from the property. Because of that, under the law, we are required to pay them relocation assistance. We are also required to compensate them for the temporary taking of their property because they weren't able to access that property during the many months. And in addition to that, the settlement is for the value of their property in a taking by eminent domain.
All right, anything else to add, or?
I'm happy to field questions.
Counselor Leahy?
Yes, hi, thank you, Sarah, for coming down here tonight. So this is for 394 High Street.
Yes.
And how many businesses were located in that building?
Okay, so this agreement is for the property owners. The businesses were, there was MD Beauty Salon. There was also a church that was renting the space upstairs.
And so for, how much was this building appraised at?
It was appraised at $169,000, I believe. The appraisal was sent out in an email communication by Attorney Cunha back in April.
I don't have that good of a memory. So it's $196,000?
169, I believe. I can check.
I'm sorry, what was it again?
169.
169? And how much are the back taxes owed on the building?
So the back taxes in the agreement, let's see.
Can I just step up for that?
Yes, Bellamy, to the microphone.
The answer is about $55,000
So what,
At this point in time, or?
at this point in time.
Okay, so at the time that the agreement was signed, it was $26,013.93.
so there wasn't taxes, the time that we took the time that the Essex House fell down, we should have stopped putting taxes on the building, correct? I mean, there shouldn't be paying taxes on the
Yep,
building that,
so part of the agreement is that we are going to abate the taxes from April 1st, 2014 to present.
and how much would that be?
I assume that's the rest of the 50,000, about 25,000.
So is this money that we're looking at here today, is this the money that's the value of the building, subtracting the taxes that are owed?
Yes, that is what you see in the financial order. If you look at the settlement agreement, the amount is actually higher than in the financial order, so that takes into account the back taxes.
Okay. And forgive me for not knowing this, what's the delay? Why have we not given this lady, this business owner, the money that she's owed?
I mean, my understanding of it is that there were communications back and forth. There was a negotiation that went along with this, and also the funding is an issue. This was presented to the council in April, so now it's September.
Yeah, that's a long time for a person to be without the money that in my opinion, is rightly deserved to her. So tonight, I'm going to vote in favor of giving her the money. Right now, you're taking out of the stabilization. Is that because we don't have free cash certified?
I believe so. I think the issue was, well, we actually had budgeted, we had planned to pay half of it in last fiscal year, or half of it in this fiscal year. There was money budgeted in our claims account, and then it was cut during the budget time. So this is requesting the full amount.
The city
from-
council cut that?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so how much would you have left after this in your claims and damage account?
$11,000, there's only 11,000 in that account right now.
Which I don't have a problem with. I like keeping the claims and damage account very minimal, because that means you have to come in here and you have to explain why. I say your position, not you individually, but now I guess you. But I like the person coming down, the city solicitor, or the acting city solicitor, or the acting, whoever it is at the time, because for me to vote on something, I want to know the information. If the money's in your account, you can just give it away. And I'm not saying that you would,
Understandable.
but I like the checks and balances, you know what I mean? So those are the questions I have, and I'm going to be voting in favor of this tonight. Thank you.
Linda?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you share with us what the taxes owed on the property prior to the whole issue of the demolition of the Essex House arose?
I mean, I believe at the point in time we signed the settlement agreement is 26,000. I believe there were some payments. Am I right on that? Yes, there were some payments made towards the taxes. So it was at one point higher, but then, there was a payment plan and payments were made.
And on the sheet that we received recently from one department within the city, it listed all of the people that are behind on the taxes. We had been informed by the treasurer that there was a tax repayment plan on the property, but it wasn't evident on that sheet, so we never really have received an update as to what happened
Okay.
in that regard. So it would be helpful for us to have that information.
Okay.
Speaking for myself, I am I have a very difficult time taking money out of stabilization fund for something like this. We've been informed by the mayor that at the time he signed the demolition agreement, the demolition company was liable for any damage that happened to buildings next to the Essex House. And it's our understanding that our law department, and I'm assuming ably so, is representing the city in a suit against this demo company, who the mayor assured us had full liability for this matter because it was signed as an emergency demo, it was understood by all parties, and he came in the chambers and explained this to us. And so as the city sometimes waits many years to get paid and gives people opportunity to do tax repayment plans, we can't control the speed of the courts. But we have been assured by Room 1 that that is the case in this case. And I certainly hope that we do totally prevail against this company if they did not uphold their end of the contract, which I believe the mayor, if he stood there and told us that they have the liability. So I would look to seek to protect the stabilization fund and protect the property owner by having the company that assumed the liability pay the liability. So, from what I know of everything, so,
Well,
Thank you.
on that, do we have an update on the lawsuit?
Yep,
Where it
so, I mean, the
stands?
city has filed a complaint against NASD, and I don't think this is the proper venue to be discussing ongoing litigation, but we have filed a complaint, and we're working through the process.
All right, so a lawsuit was filed. Just for an update before we go to the others, on 4/6/2016, a request for 2013 bond principal of $142,986.07, which then when it went to claims and damages was requested. We had a meeting. Prior to that, there was no lawsuit filed when talking with Kara Cunha at that meeting. Therefore, there was a request to proceed with some type of legal action to deal with the insurance company from the demo group, which then we made a motion to table. That vote was 3-1. And that was just for one portion of the liability. The rest was supposed to come from going to this year, and we're going to pay for it through that way. So that's just a little history lesson on that. Then I did receive an email from Bellamy saying that that bond was no longer needed, or that order, and to proceed with giving it leave to withdraw. That was an email from you prior to the fiscal year ending, and we took out other items. So now, we're back where, how to pay for this issue for this business owner. So with that, that's the brief history lesson. Councilor Lopez, and then Dan and Dave.
Sarah, do you, I would like to have some information on rehabbing the building, how much it will cost, instead of us taking the building? And
So-
do you have any numbers for me?
Absolutely. So our building commissioner actually reached out to, I believe it was an appraiser. I do have a document from them that shows, it was an architect. So they quoted it at $1.2 to $1.8 million to rehab the building. And the reason why that's so high is because enough of the building has been damaged that it's substantial renovation. And under the law, the building would have to comply with the codes as if it were a new construction. So that would require an elevator, it would require new sprinkler systems, new electrical and plumbing.
Can I get a copy of that?
Yep, I can get
Please.
you a copy of this. Mhm.
And also, can I get a copy of the demolition agreement with the companies that demolished the Essa house?
The
I just want to read
contract?
that, yeah.
Mhm.
And that will be for now. Thank you. That's a tough thing to swallow. So,
Dan?
Thanks, Todd. Sarah, so what happens if, God forbid, this building falls down? I mean, I guess, first of all, why is the city taking it? I don't have so much an issue with the settlement, and, you know, I mean, in all that, the business went out of business, wasn't her fault, really wasn't the city's fault. Unfortunately, somebody decided to take a building that has been empty and collapsing for 20 years, but that's not our problem, that wasn't our decision, nor yours. I guess my question is, why do we want that building? We're really not in the landlord business. I think we've proven that we're not good landlords, the city of Holyoke as an entity. So why don't we just pay off Maria, or not pay her off, but settle with Maria, and then, you know, they have to do something with the building.
So, I mean, the reason why we're pursuing the taking of the building is because of the cost to repair it at this point. We have to make the property owners whole. The Essex House had been collapsing onto this building before it even demolished. There were bricks falling and there was some damage to the roof. After the collapse, there was more substantial damage, and you know, they appraised the cost of repairing that damage between $1.2 and $1.8 million. So we're looking at making the property owners whole and doing the work and putting the property back to the status it was prior to the damage versus just taking it and demolishing it.
Right, but again, I guess my question is, why does the city of Holyoke want that building? Why can we not just settle with the business that was there for damage to her building? We go after the contractor that demolished the building, and 5 years down the road, we get paid back for that. I'm just not understanding why we want to get into renovating buildings.
Because so I, as I understand it, it's the property owners will have to repair the building or demolish the building, which is an additional cost that they'd be seeking the city to pay for. So the value of this settlement is, it's a good, unfortunately, it's a lot of money, but it is the best deal in this case for the city. Otherwise, we're paying for, you know, the cost of the taking in addition to the cost of a demolition or the cost of the repair.
But I mean, this could turn into a domino effect. Salsa Ranga could be the next victim, because that building next door decides to collapse because the structural integrity is destroyed. So, I mean, and I know this isn't you, but I'm just kind of letting everyone, I mean, I'm concerned that, I don't have an issue with Maria's claim and settling that. I have a real problem with City of Hoyoke taking over another building, because, you know, history was just gonna repeat itself. We just did that with the Essex House, and now it's gonna, I don't know who thinks we have $1.8 million lying around to put an elevator in a building? I mean, where are we gonna get that money, which we don't have? So, I mean, I don't, again, have a problem with the claim for MD Salon. I mean, I've known her for years. She does a great business, you know, all that. It's a fantastic person. It's not about her, all that sort of stuff. She's a victim in all of this. But my two problems are that we are not good landlords. We should not take that building at all. I mean, if they decide they don't want it, then go to housing court, appoint the receivership, have them see if they can repair it, or they want to get their hands into something like that. Us taking the property is a terrible idea. The other thing that I just want to say is that the City of Hoyoke as an entity has to be more aware of businesses that are not paying their taxes. Again, this is not about this particular business, but what happens is that we might not be in this situation if that business permit was never renewed, because you're supposed to have up-to-date on your taxes. And from my information that I have, this has been in tax title since '07. So, I mean, how people are getting business permits that aren't up-to-date on their taxes is mind-boggling, because we could have avoided this entire situation had, you know, somebody went down there and said, hey, you know, and then maybe that person decided to move the business. But again, it's all water underneath the bridge. But I just want to publicly say, if businesses owe taxes, they should not be issued another business permit. I mean, because there was no agreement. But I feel for Maria. I think she's right taking this. And my last question is, the assessed value of the property when that contract was negotiated, was that for the assessed value of the property then or now? Because the assessor's card as of today says it's worth $126,000.
So the appraisal is dated October 21st, 2014.
And I'm assuming that's about the time that this,
So that was after, I believe that was after the collapse itself.
and
Yeah, it has pictures of.
could I also get what Diosdado asked, the contract for the demolition, and also that, the report from the building commissioner's crew that went out there and told us what it's going to be worth to fix it?
Absolutely.
Thanks, Sarah, appreciate it. Thank you, Chairman.
Dave?
Todd, thank you so much, and to the committee, thank you for all your work, as always. And Sarah, congratulations and good luck in your position. Okay, I want to make sure I say that. I'm sure I speak for everybody here. I think Councilor Bresnan raises a good point, because we typically, when somebody comes in to see us for a special permit, what's the first thing that Kevin looks through? Are they current with their municipal taxes and fees and all the rest of that? So I think Councilor Bresnan makes an excellent point, and perhaps maybe that's not being communicated to the city clerk, and maybe that's not an ordinance that's on file that we need to, so maybe you could provide a recommendation to us, Sarah, on that point, and if that is something that's lacking and something that we can file, then I'll certainly file it with Councilor Bresnahan. So if it's not already on record. But the city clerk's got to be aware, if taxes are not, or taxes are due and owing, that she doesn't have the, she can make a call on whether a permit should be issued, or not. Maybe she needs to check the ordinance, says, well, if taxes and fees are due and owing, then her computer would pop up and say, I'm sorry, we can't issue your business permit. So that's just a larger point, that maybe you could help us out with that down the road. You get back to Danny and me on that one as well. Just would you help me out with one thing? Just the appraisal you said was 169.
Yes.
Okay, and just explain to me, and we have a settlement for a different number than that. So just explain how that variance happened.
Sure. And this is going back to the information that was sent by Attorney Cunha in April, she included a chart that explains. So $169,000 is the fair market value of the building. That is, of course, we're taking out the taxes that are due. Again, the value in the settlement is the whole amount. By law, we're required to, kind of take them, essentially give the money, take it back, but we're doing it in this manner. It's $127,000 for the temporary taking of the building. So as of April 1st, 2014, the property owners were displaced. They were unable to access their building or use their building. They still had rental income that they were losing out on now because their tenants were displaced. They had a mortgage, mortgage interest and penalties that are accruing on that time. Again, they don't get to use the building that they're still paying for. Also, the insurance and the alarm system and the personal property that they had in the building that was ruined and destroyed by the actual collapse. So that's figure represents the temporary taking for the time period from April 1st, 2014 to the time that the settlement agreement was entered into.
And there are no offsets to that? So did the city help the business person move or pay? So were there,
So the businesses in the building were relocated. So by law, we're required to give them relocation assistance. So MD Beauty Salon is different than 394 High Street. So the beauty salon we did assist them in moving. We paid the rent at their new location. We paid for additional signage for when they had to, tell the public that they've moved their premises. And we did the same thing for the church that was located upstairs as well. We assisted them in finding a new space, and we paid them, to compensate for their loss, essentially.
and what is that amount totaled?
So the amount between the two businesses, it's about $37,000 again, this is over the course of 2 years.
Okay, so that 37,000 wouldn't be used to offset some of this?
No, because the businesses are separate than the property owners.
Business is separate than property owners, okay. That's a true statement, but is that, but why is that not, okay, because they're separate from the property owners, that's pursuant to what? Is that a state law, or?
Mm-hmm, it's the
Okay.
Uniform Relocation Act.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then for Bellamy, why can't we use this, why do we have to use a stabilization account? I mean, we just found out we have this fund 0430. Why can't we use some of those proceeds to,
We could use those proceeds in lieu, as part of the payment, but all that's in that account is about $130,000, and that's not going to cover 270. So-
no, it doesn't. Oh, I get that.
Yeah, there's no sort of pot of gold. Even, the claims account has $11,000 left in it. There's no sort of pot of gold that we can touch at this point, especially since free cash has not yet been certified. So the thought was, we take it out of stabilization, and in fact, it's not coming out of stabilization, it's coming out of stabilization interest.
No,
that we've earned, not
I
the
understand that,
fund
yeah.
itself.
I understand that.
And then you have the opportunity to replenish it once free cash is certified, if you so choose.
I mean,
or
do
let
you
it
want to tell
ride, whatever.
do you want to tell the public how much the interest earned? You want to just tell us what?
I'm estimating the stabilization fund is about $12 million. Sandy has the exact number. I have details on part of it, $7 million of it that's invested in one particular account, and that account has earned $392,356.42 as of September 30th. So, but there's more in the other accounts that make up the total stabilization account.
Well, yeah, it's usually the way this was explained to me is that the interest comes sometimes maybe $500,000 a year. Am I off base on that?
No, you're exactly right. That's what
Okay.
I'm saying. Through September,
Okay.
we've earned $400,000 on just this one part of the stabilization fund.
So-
So you're bang on.
So and I've seen other municipalities pay settlements out of stabilization, so I know it's legal to do so. So Sprinkler just did it, for example. I know they did it a month ago. They had a $100,000 settlement. They paid for it out of their stabilization account. When do we think the free cash is going to be certified, Bellamy?
I'm estimating first 2 weeks of November.
And do we have a sense as what our free cash position will be?
I will
At that time?
remind you that Brian Smith always refused to answer that
Oh,
question.
you do remind us, yes, you do. Fair point, yeah.
I will say I think it'll be in the range of $1 to $2 million. That's my estimate.
Quite a range. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's
But it's kind of a smaller range than what
than what we're used to. That
that
is
we're
correct.
accustomed.
That is correct.
So, I mean, and I'm sure you explained that to the various department heads, including the department head we just had in here, that our free cash position has changed dramatically over the years, and consequently, the rollover of certain capital assets can't happen as frequently as one would like.
That is correct.
Okay. I guess the last thing is, for the auditor, just making a payment like this right here and now out of stabilization, what do, what do third parties have to say about something like that, Mr. Auditor? As, our, bond rating agencies, those sorts of, that lady that, what's
Cinder McNerney.
Cinder, yes. Yeah, so when somebody like Cinder comes in, what is she thinking of these sorts of transactions?
Well, we've done this in the past. Over the past 5 years, she thought we had managed the budget well over the last 5 years, in terms of controlling spending and in terms of dipping into stabilization when necessary, but not to an egregious amount, using it for things like this, which are kind of unusual, sort of act of God events, as opposed to using stabilization to fund the budget every year. So I don't think she would object to that.
Okay, and then just for for Sarah, if this payment is made, what future claims does this business owner, property owner have? That this completely settles any and all claims with the city of Holyoke?
Yep, the settlement agreement includes a release. It's in regards to her the specific property at 394 High Street, and in regards to the Essex House. Yes, so those claims. Mhm.
Thank you.
Gladys?
Thank you for giving me the moment to speak tonight. I know that this is a tough decision for all of us, but if we recall the first time this was brought to our attention, we decided as a body to put it on hold to go after the company that was responsible for the demolition. And we're here today incurring more costs because if you recall, the business that she had over, the times that I also went there for service, she had about 10 staff, probably altogether, 8 to 10 people working for her. And she had to downsize to accommodate to less than that in order to continue to serve. So she also has lost revenue in this process if we look at what's happened. I'm somewhat concerned because even though that all the things are being brought here about who owes taxes and who doesn't owe taxes and whatnot, I also knew she was in an installment plan, like an agreement to, be paying back this type of money regardless. So even, this is being brought openly. But let me just say, let's be honest. If this situation was to happen in any other neighborhood, how have we had addressed this? Many of us would have jumped to support a business individual, okay? She also had a choice. She could have taken this business to Chicopee, Springfield, because I recall that she got offers to be doing this as well. Today, we're here with an issue. We faced this even before my time, there was a collapse where somebody got killed inside the building, a homeless person. These are situations that we, as a body, was responsible for that building regardless of her situations. To me, she's been the victim in her business who she lost out on because she was getting that. In addition, we're looking at this as a big number. She still owes a mortgage on this building. So she's responsible to pay off the balance that she owes, regardless of this money. So she's not getting $270,000 actually pocketed, like some people may look at it. And I want us to be clear about that because it's like, where's it coming from and whatnot. Hey, if the business was still running, we would not have gone through this, meaning that this building would not have collapsed. So for me, this is an issue that we really need to really take it serious tonight, and I'm hoping that you guys can vote on this, and that when we come to the body on tomorrow, we also vote on it. Let's get it over with, because this is accruing, and the more we wait, we still have to pay for her rent. We have to she still has to pay for her mortgage on this building regardless, and it's gonna increase. Sooner or later, we'll take half of $1 million that we're, like right now, trying not to spend out. So let's get it over with and let's vote on it. Thank you.
Linda? We're still holding a meeting. Thank you. We're still holding a meeting. Linda?
Mr. Chairman, on review, my question relates to the next order. Thank you.
Okay. Jimmy?
Yeah, I just want to make it known that I disagree with what my colleague just said. I don't think that, I don't care what the neighborhood is, we have to ask questions, we have to do our due diligence. I was the first person tonight to say that we should pay this person, and I strongly believe that. So I don't want to be marked as a person that was saying that I'm not doing this because of what neighborhood or different. That's completely wrong. That's the wrong way to think. I think that this person is a great business owner, and I truly believe that this person should be paid, and she has it coming. So I'm going to make a motion tonight to pay her. Just want to form a motion.
Well done.
I made a
Anyone
motion.
else? I know, but there might be some more questions to me. Anyone else
Be
have a
discussion.
question?
I just agree with Jimmy Leahy. This isn't a neighborhood thing. This is not, let's not turn this into something it's not. These are legitimate questions, right? Businesses, I mean, and I've known Maria for years. When I was running the health department, I helped her out, get, anything she needed, I'd work with her. And I know Jimmy, but the issue is that we don't want to take buildings over. It's bad business. We took over the Essex House. We're on the hook for that. Now we're going to take over another building. It's nothing personal. It's nothing neighborhood. The city of Hoyoke can't take over abandoned buildings that are falling down because we have no money. We don't want the financial board coming into the city of Hoyoke and taking over the entire city like they did to the school department. It's nothing against Maria. It's nothing against the MD Saloon. I think and no one in this room is probably going to vote against it, but it's a simple question of is this a good idea? This practice should be stopped today. We should never take over buildings anymore because the city of Hoyoke is not good landlords. That's all.
Joe?
Sarah, do we know who the last owner of the Essex House was?
Oh,
Yeah, 3 people out of Boston. I'll get you their names. I have it
Yeah,
listed.
but, yeah.
Well, I know who they are.
They're spread out.
That's a tough town down there, Bill.
Before the city took the Essex House and tax title, what corrective action was the city taking?
I believe there was at least one Board of Health inspection on the property. I
One.
don't know, at least, there may be more, I'm sorry, I'd have to review our documents.
Yeah, the city didn't do its job, once again. Over and over and over again, the city does not go after the people who are the true owners and the true responsibility of what's happening, because they want us to take these buildings. They want to dump their liability on the city, on all of us who are taxpayers. And that's the shame in this whole thing. We need to make Maria whole, but we need to do a better job of going after the people before the city is forced to take these buildings and to get them into court. And we need to change the laws of the Commonwealth because these dummy up corporate LLCs are the death of all communities like Hoyoke, all older communities, because that's all they do, is they come in, rape the city of the monies that they can get on the property, and then dump it on the city. And if our board, if our building commission, our Board of Health, and our law department isn't going after them, then we're mismanaging what we should really be doing. In the meantime, we have to make Maria whole. I think it's going to be a difficult decision. If we proceeded with this, I get the numbers, would that enhance what we're trying to do with the demolition company in terms of our corrective action against them, or do you think it would hurt?
It would, so it would, from the city's perspective, agreeing to this and funding this settlement agreement would certainly help us because the costs are going to keep going up. So in terms of the larger litigation, we have a better chance of recovering this amount of money than if the cost keeps going up to recover a larger amount of money.
Thank you.
Linda?
So I guess I was under a misconception that the owner of the building was the owner of the beauty salon. So could you straighten us out on that?
I believe there are 3 owners to the building, of the building. Would you like their names?
Which building are we talking about? 3 owners to?
The High Street, the 394 High Street. So it's Maria Ferrara, James Murphy, and Fares, can someone please pronounce it for me? Arciniegas. There we go.
Thank you.
I don't have their addresses offhand, no. Yep.
All right, if there's no more questions, I had a few. So you kind of touched on it, but it's not where I was going with it. With regards to the lawsuit that's pending, I know we can't talk too much about it, but we filed a lawsuit in a certain fashion with regards to damage to the building, pretty much against their insurance. If we settle, or not settle, but if we take this building and then pretty much knock it down because it's unsafe, do they have a claim against us to say that the lawsuit is now moot?
Does the construction company? Well, I mean, I don't anticipate that we'll be demolishing the building before that point. If we need to preserve evidence, we will.
Okay.
That taking the building and having possession of it won't impact the condition of the building that we're trying to prove.
All right, and the reason I bring it up is we had an issue come up in finance where we approved money towards the retirement account. I know it's not exactly on point, but it was a nice trick that was given to us, which was we give them money to make the account whole, and then when we try to sue to get the money back for non-reimbursement, they said, well, there's no claim left because you made it whole. I don't want to fall into that trap here. So if we have an outstanding lawsuit, and I know the cost is going up, that's kind of the, we're caught between a rock and a hard place. I don't want to give the other side a chance to wiggle out of this. So that's what I need an answer to. Because if we settle, she no longer is there, it's the city's building, is there a place for them to have an argument? I don't know, but I want a guarantee. The second one I had is for Bellamy. Free cash, when do we expect a time frame as to when it's going to come?
I'd say sometime in the first 2 weeks of November.
I'm not holding you to this, but you said around 1 to 2 million.
That's what I said, yes.
I'm not
To
holding
the
you
best
to
of my,
that.
no, I mean, to the best of my ability, that's what I've come up with, but.
And I did
There's-
receive your email about some of the good news for free cash on some of those
Yeah, and
accounts that were.
I hope will push it towards the high
Pushes
end,
it up.
but I
Okay.
can't guarantee it.
Now, with regards to that, I guess my question is, if we were to approve stabilization, can we make a guarantee or something in the agreement that any money, whether it's the insurance money, if we ever see it, or free cash, has to fund it back?
I mean, I don't think that would be appropriate for the agreement.
No,
with
I'm not
the
talking that
property
one. I'm
owners, but-
talking some type of agreement for us. Let's face it, do you have an agreement from bond counsel tonight? Did you talk to bond counsel
About
on
what?
this money?
No.
Okay. Do we have an agreement saying that this is okay? I heard her, but have we called her on this issue?
No.
Okay,
haven't.
that's an issue to me. Sandy, with regards to our stabilization account, it's roughly 12 million, you said? And Bellamy said 7 million's in one fund, where the other funds, you don't have to give me the fund names, but roughly how they're spread out? Okay. Yeah, and then he said the interest was 392 in that $7 million.
$7 million one, $392,356.42. January 1st. On the other stabilization fund, the principal on that is $4,749,60. That is earned since January, August, because they couldn't give me the $231,667. Total interest earned on those two accounts is $624,023 from January to.
Thank you, that's what I was looking for. Thank you very much. All right, so we did learn from bond counsel that interest, if you're taking just from interest and not sporadically, they're fine with that. But usually we do call them and kind of let them know. That's what we've requested, so this is nothing new.
I can give Cindy a call first. I'm sure I can give.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Cindy saying that she gets. It is up to the city.
Which then is, my question was, why didn't we take the 130 from the, was it 043 count, and put that towards this cost and only hit stabilization by a little, and then put in the bond package 8 cars?
That would probably mean, at the time that the chief came to Bellamy and requested, we had just had the auction. We knew we had available cash of $200,000 for the cars. Also, other departments were notified. The fire chief knows, and W at the time with Debbie Reardon. We had a small meeting in my office and said, listen, put it on a wish list. At that time, the mayor decided to do a bigger wish list to include radios, communication, vehicles, all the other stuff that you were presented to by the mayor in regards to a bigger bond.
Now,
See how it can be financed.
on that, just so we can confirm the numbers, we're saying that for that account, it's roughly about 240 is going to go in there?
The end result is gonna be about $250,000.
250. All right, and when do we expect it to be fully collected?
I would say, my assistant just informed me we got 2 more closings today, for the proceeds of properties. I would say probably by the end of October, the beginning of November.
So November I know I'm not going to hold you to it, things happen. So in essence, we'll have 120,000 in that account. So if we assume, well, actually it'd be a little more because we only gave the chief 112. 112.
112.
So why can't we take from that account and lessen the damage to the stabilization? Look at,
Well, it's just
touching
that we-
stabilization, we all know is we don't like
It's
to
called a
do.
bird in the hand. We don't have that money in our hand yet, but
Well,
we could do
look
that.
at, I'm trying to make the lady whole because
Right.
I'll give the history lesson. When Essex came in, I said, give money for the bond, but don't take the property. Leave it with the LLC members so we can go sue them. Granted, we weren't going to get anywhere with it because the laws the way they are. But when you take the property the way we did, anything that falls behind it is now on us. That's the problem.
Yeah.
No offense to her. If we didn't take that property, we wouldn't be here tonight. Be moot. And the city wouldn't be out 270, 210. Because we could have just put up billboards all over Boston, because there's 3 millionaires in Boston still laughing at us. Because we took Essex, we tore it down for them, and now anything that falls behind it is coming on us. That's why I brought it up that night before the bond package. We didn't do it. So now we're stuck with the damage. I'm done. No, you don't have to answer. So now,
But I
with
do
my-
have an update. I'm not sure that we can use that fund to pay a claim. We are supposed to use it for one of 2 things. You know, one is the repayment of any debt on the properties that we've sold, and the second is any purpose for which the city is allowed to incur debt. And I'm not sure we're allowed to incur debt to pay off.
I would like that answer. I have, just call it 140. I'm making up a rough number, 140 sitting in that account. That could offset this and knock it down to 130 from stabilization. To me, it's a little bit better to deal with. And I know bond counsel wouldn't have an issue at all. They'd say, don't call me. I would like those answers.
Yeah, I'll ask the
She's
I
entitled to
will
her
ask
money.
the-
I'm not going to lie to you.
I will ask the external auditor tomorrow whether we can use that fund for the purpose you have in mind. I'm not clear that you can. My reading of the law says you can't, but I will ask the expert.
There's always ways to spin it with them. Anyways, with regards to Sarah, what I'm asking for is regardless of how this ultimately gets paid out, if any money comes out of stabilization, which some looks like it's going to have to, I, as the chair of finance, would like some type of guarantee that either free cash certification, and I'm not going to file an order to have to send it off there. I want a guarantee that it will get reimbursed.
So the money would come back into the general fund. I mean, that's.
Or the insurance, if the
Back into
insurance.
stabilization fund. Pardon me?
Can it even go back into, or
Sure.
does it almost
You
revenue?
can, they can authorize movements of money into the stabilization anytime they want, as long as there's the money exists.
Mayor's
somewhere.
got, look at, I'm asking for the mayor to sign off saying, absolutely, I'll do that.
You may not want to do that, though.
I can
Because here's what
consult-
happened, once again, all about history. Water damage upstairs ruined our voting machines, or maybe downstairs, I can't remember exact location. Voting machines were shot, we took from stabilization, paid for it, never got the money back. That's the type of stuff we're watching out for, way before you, Bellamy,
no, I
way
know,
before you. We're trying to get new voting machines because they're that old.
I know.
Linda?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the points that I've heard from the committee and noting that we are now approximately 6 weeks from getting the free cash certified, so within the scheme of the timing of a 2-year window, it's a very short period of time remaining. And I would be supportive of an action of the committee that says to take the money from any available funds that we have that we find we can use once the research is done, and that the remainder of the settlement be paid after free cash is certified, and that we use the free cash to pay it, so that we don't have to worry about the promise of paying back stabilization. We're 6 weeks away. It's not a year, it's not 6 months, it's basically right around the corner. And that way, the person is made whole. We don't have to worry about history repeating itself of the money not going back in. And we know that there will be at least enough to pay this. And that's just my comment on that. And my question for Sarah is, I've heard you say that we need to preserve the evidence regardless of what we do with the settlement. But as with some of these buildings, we get into the situation where they're then deemed a safety hazard. So do you have a review by our building commissioner that deems that the building is not a safety hazard and that it is reasonable for us to think that it won't become one while we're going after the demo company in the lawsuit?
Well, the building commissioner did get that review from, and he had architects look at the property, and that was the assessment that it would cost between 1.2 and 1.8 to fix. So they did, so the building commissioner has reviewed the building, and we just have to keep up with it.
But he has not deemed it a safety hazard to the public.
It hasn't been condemned at this point, and it hasn't, I mean, at this point, it's the collapse is really on the inside wall. So it's not necessarily on the street, but we have to keep an eye on it. And if, the building does seem that it would collapse into the street, we would have to put up some type of fencing or secure it. Mm-hmm.
And so it seems that reasonably considering the circumstance we're in, we're going to have to be demolishing that building within the next year or two.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And that if it's like
Get
that,
costs on that too. What would the cost be for?
right?
Oh, I don't know offhand. I can find that out.
Hopefully we're not using the same contractor we used before.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Peter?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah, for coming down. And I've heard some great remarks tonight about this, and especially Councilor McGivern saying that these companies come in and take over this, the responsibility to give it to the city, and it's really not fair for that happening, but this did happen, and we have to resolve this. This is a good business owner that's been here for a number of years, and I think it's been over 2 years now that she's been waiting for this settlement, and just recently got settled this year, and I think it should be paid out of the free cash. I go along with Councilor Leahy that it's been long enough. It's time to take care of this business, put this behind us, and that the costs don't rise anymore, because the longer I wait, even if it's 6 weeks, the costs are rising every day. And the money is there, the stabilization fund. I believe most of that's interest. I would like to see it go back into, but there's no guarantee. I know my colleague, the chairman, wants a guarantee, and I think that's got to come from the mayor, and I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think this should be taken care of. I think we should vote on this tonight, and I am definitely in favor of transferring this funds from this stabilization account.
So Bellamy, with regards to the real estate account, you'll have an answer tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I should be able to reach Pat tomorrow morning.
Okay, and I'll just be as clear as day. I'm not saying I don't want to pay her. I want to pay her. She's entitled to it. If we have other accounts to pay from, that's where you look to first, in my opinion, without having to touch the stabilization account or minimize the damage to stabilization account, even though we're claiming it's only interest. That's my point. So with that, I'll accept motions unless there's another, wait, Linda, you have another question?
Go ahead.
I make a motion to pass it as read.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer an amendment that we make a motion to pass the payment out of free cash once it's certified and any other available accounts that are deemed to be legal to utilize to solve the claim.
In all due respect,
Oh, we can't
Counselor,
do that?
we can't make that motion because what's before you today is a stabilization
Oh, so we can't
account
amend the
request.
source.
So
Okay.
you can make a motion to deny, you can make a motion to table, to then say, look to other sources and get answers for what we're looking for. You can vote for this one.
Okay, then, in substitution, I would offer a motion to table till we can get the answers to the cash accounts, and also seek from the mayor to request an appropriation to settle this claim from free cash once it's certified.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All right, so the Second Amendment will go first. It was, let me write it out so I have them both correctly. So Counselor Leahy made a motion to approve. Counselor Tallman seconded it. Linda, you made a motion to table and repeat the rest of the language? I'm sorry.
So that we can determine if there are other available cash accounts that could be used to settle the claim, and to request the mayor request the appropriation from free cash once it's certified, which should be in 5 to 6 weeks.
And that was seconded by Counselor Lopez. So on the First Amendment, the motion is to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Do a roll call. Linda?
Yes.
Jimmy? No. Diosdado?
Yes.
Peter?
No.
Todd, yes. So the motion is to table with a request to have other accounts used and have the mayor use free cash, if at all, and that has been tabled.
All right, make a motion to take item number 4 off. the
Second.
table.
Second.
In favor, all is opposed. Item number 4 is in order that the city council adopt the attached taking of 394 High Street.
What is it?
Number 4, right?
Yes.
Taking, yeah.
Yeah.
What do I have? I have basketball. Oh, wait,
No, that's
number 5. All right, so number 4, maybe you just got an older agenda. Order 4, agenda was order that the city council adopt the taking of 394.
Oh, yeah.
That's been removed from the table.
Second.
Counselor Bartley? If you see agenda item number 4, do you have it in front of you? Can someone just hand him the agenda real quick?
I'm green.
Don't have it?
He's got it.
I got it right here.
It says, or I'll just read it to you. It says, order that the city council adopt the attached order of taking property 394 High Street. Doesn't that go to your committee? Wouldn't that be a
It would, yeah.
GNR?
That's,
It somehow was sent to us, so it was in finance. Discussion purposes, or? So do you want me to, maybe it was a copy? I don't know, it was an order. Should I send it back to you, or?
I make a motion to send the DGR.
This is the same property, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the
Yes.
same property.
We combined it because it goes hand in hand.
yeah, right. That's probably
Well, I
I
why.
think
just
they
making
sent
sure.
it to
Yeah,
us.
that's all.
Okay.
That's probably why. 'cause
So, item number 4, we'll make a motion to table it
Okay,
pursuant to.
can we ask a few questions? I say questions because they're more pertinent to this than to the.
Oh, okay,
transfer.
okay, so no motion yet. Joe?
Thank you. Listen, Sarah, the taking of this property, or the taking of any property, what happens to the mortgage that the property owners have outstanding?
Well, usually, so our taking of a property would supersede the mortgage. The mortgage would still
can't
be
hear her.
individual.
I can't.
It's an open meeting.
It's not your fault.
It's an open meeting, so
You're allowed to.
No, you can't, we already got a,
I can't hear
we already
you.
got
As long as the room's.
a request on that one, yeah. We're fine on that one.
I'm sorry, it's just, but again, what happens to the private mortgage, the outstanding balance of it? if
She
the
would
city-
still hold the mortgage would still be held by the property owners. They would have to pay that.
Okay.
If we took the property, it'd be compensating them for we're paying the price of the building, so they'd pay off their
Has
mortgage.
that been
I assume.
considered into the settlement that was been discussed earlier?
Yes.
And how much money does she owe then?
I don't know exactly how much she has on her mortgage. I can find that out.
Okay, but if it's part of the settlement, I think it should be public record, and we should be able to find out.
Can we actually just have a list of pretty much everything? In essence, the mortgage, the taxes, the tax agreement that they had with the treasurer's office on paying the back taxes, and a history of the payments on that?
Utilities?
Settlement agreement, utilities, all the stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was the question. And the importance to me is I wasn't sure what happened, and I didn't want to think that there might be some actions by a lending institution because of our actions or what took place if that mortgage was dissolved. And I'm not too sure I ever asked that question before, but thanks, sir.
I also want to find out how much it will cost to demolish our building. 394, if we take it, how much it's going to cost to demolish?
To demolish, yes. The
Because, I
cost
mean,
of-
That's another cost we have to pay.
Yep.
yeah,
I can find that out.
please, yeah, thank you.
All right, so if there's no more questions, motion is to table pursuant to order number 3.
Second.
All those in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? Item number 5, make a motion removed from the agenda.
So moved.
All those in favor? All
Aye.
those opposed? Order from Counselor Sullivan, order that $7,629.75 be paid out of free cash to pay school department custodian fees, utility charges to the Hoyoke Elite Basketball or such fees charged by the school's department be waived. Counselor Sullivan?
Yes, thank you. I want to take everybody back to the 1960s, 1970s. We used to have football teams in every neighborhood, basketball programs in every church. We used to have huge baseball programs, huge sports venues to give the youth in Hoyoke something really constructive to do. We had my experience was with the Churchill Packers. We could go to Mackenzie Field. We had our practices there. The lights were on. The only fundraising we had to do, we'd go with our cans and raise money for our uniforms, and that was it. You could play almost every war. We had 6 teams, and you could play right in the city. This doesn't exist anymore through whatever has transpired over the years or changed over the years. We've lost this venue for our youth. All right, now we can have a football team, a youth league football team. Right now, the Hoyoke Elites, we've been lucky enough, we have an AAU sanctioned team in Hoyoke now. As we all know, they just traveled to Florida. The girls, I believe, the boys' team came in first in the country. The girls' team, I believe, came in fourth in the country.
Is it the MIGs?
Pardon?
Is it the MIGs team? Oh, okay.
Can we
Yeah,
represent
come
from
on in.
the elite? Come on in.
Sorry, my family's a MIG family.
I think it's for the next one. And actually, you might have to weigh in on this one, yeah. Turn the mic on, the button right there.
Button there, green light.
All right. Just state your name and,
Jose Miranda, director of the Holy Elites program.
Thank you, and
My name is Edwin Campo. I'm the assistant director of the program.
Denise Rodriguez, I'm a parent.
thank you. All right, so Counselor, if you,
So, I think one of the things I really like is there's no limit to the number of AAU teams we could have in Holyoke if this is the venue now that we have to pursue. And, if this was tremendously successful, we'd be able to keep not all these games, but you'd have a lot of this competition going on in the city again. Right now, just besides the trip to Florida, which was fantastic, that was a national title. Just this weekend, they had to find other teams they had to play. They had to travel to Boston, I think up on the North Shore.
South Shore.
Yeah, South Shore. They had to go to Pembroke. They played down in Hartford. All this is going on in town. So I think this could be the catalyst to getting something going like this again. When we had these programs, I think there was 25 kids on each football team, and we had 16, that would be 150 kids that could participate. Right now, with a start like this, you can get 20 or 30, but if we could get programs like this to take root again and expand in the city, we could get something that would get hundreds of kids participating again. So I think it's something that we've got to start taking the initial steps now and start taking down the barriers for these teams to become successful and to have these venues for our youth again.
all right, any questions? Linda?
Can you just help me understand the relationship of the group to the city?
Well, AAU is the the Amateur Athletic Union. All right, and that's throughout the whole country. The Holyoke, the Elites is a team comprised mainly, I'd say 95% of Holyoke youth that is participating in the AAU program.
So, but it's a private organization. It's not related to the schools at all.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, just one thing. The order says that $7,629.75 be paid out of free cash to pay school department custodians. One issue with the order is there's nothing we really can do with this. One, free cash hasn't been certified. Two, we don't, in essence, make up an order for free cash. It in essence has to go through the mayor. The mayor goes to the auditor, they send the request down to us, goes to the council, then to finance in order for us to act on it. So if you're looking for $7,629, you have to go to the mayor and ask for that out of free cash.
Well, I think in the order I say, or the fees be waived.
That's the other thing. We can't do anything. In essence, the request has to come to us for us to act on it. If you want that type of stuff, you can say, order that the mayor allocate this or waive the amount. And then that way the mayor can proceed with that, or the superintendent can go to the mayor and ask for something of that nature. We as a body cannot, in essence, do that.
Well, so can we amend this order here tonight to, so that we can move this process forward?
We can,
You make a motion to the mayor.
Amend it and send it to the
Yeah.
mayor, right?
that was received by us, and we're sending it off to the mayor to see if he would look to do something like this. Would you like it done that way?
I'd be fine as long as to
Can we-
continue advancing the cause on this.
If I may,
Sure. Leo?
can we also ask the mayor to see if we have any reprogram money from CDVG to cover this expense? Because, CDVG money is for this type of purpose, so I think that if there's any money left over, why not? I think that, that will be a good idea. So, thank you.
Dan?
This must have been for the season, correct? I'm assuming, I mean, it wasn't, it's not one night at the gym, it was a season, correct?
Season, yeah.
Right, so, I mean, I think it's a great order. I would prefer to see that maybe the committee say, you know, in unison, in solidarity, we support this order, or we send something to Stephen Drake. He seems, I was talking to him, he's a very amenable guy. I mean, the money's not going into anybody's pocket. I mean, we should just waive the fee. I mean, we're trying, you know, this is a great program, trying to get kids off the street, get them into sports, get them into scholarships, maybe go to college, maybe, you know, all the dreams of the world at their fingertips when you guys are helping them get there. And I just can't believe we're charging them. I mean, I could maybe understand like a minimal custodial fee or something, but $7,000. I mean, how many practices do you think you guys had?
We started in April, first week of April, and it runs from April to late June. And this year we had 17. This is our second year doing this. Last year we only had 4 teams, so we upgraded, you know, from 4 to 7. We also added a girls team, and each team had 2 practices per week, hour and a half each. So we was using about 3 schools, right?
Yeah, we use 3. We utilize Holyoke High, Dean Tech, and Lawrence. And for 4 hours, or you could say 3 hours, they charged us. And that was with a nonprofit, because we're a 503c organization, nonprofit. So I looked at the bill without the 50% off, because they give you 50% off. So it would have been close to $15,000 to practice for 3 months.
For 3 hours a week?
For 3 hours.
Or 3 hours a day?
3 hours a day,
Days.
5 days a week.
So 15 hours a week?
No, it was 4 days, I'm sorry.
4 days?
It was
Yeah, 4
Mondays,
days.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays.
So 12 hours a week for
Like, I say
April, May,
3 months.
June. 3 months.
3 months, yeah.
Mike?
And this is a 50% discounted bill. They've still got $7,500. It was $15,000 that the school department was charging.
If we're able to buy a vacant building, we should be able to afford it.
You want a building on High Street?
But understand, my intent on this is not only to relieve them and keep this program going, but to attract other AAU teams to have our facilities available like we used to involve more youth, not have a roadblock to this.
Jimmy?
Yeah, thank you. So who are you dealing with at the city?
Well, at the school department, I was man in charge for that time. I wasn't working, and he was working. So I was dealing with Patty Ferreira.
All right, have you talked to the Parks and Rec Department at all? Because we have Lynch School.
Did this year we did our tryouts at Lynch, and they did charge us close to $700 for 2 days.
Yeah, Peter Leclerc. We spoke to Peter Leclerc, and we wrote him what was it? A money order of $700. They charged us.
And he charged us for 2 days.
You know, I made a joke earlier saying that I was a Miggs family just because my son Brendan played for the Miggs all through his basketball career.
Yeah.
And
That's our competition right now.
What's that?
I said that's our competition right now.
Yeah, and they're, you know, and I'm sure you guys are great guys, but my heart goes out to JoJo Feliciano.
Yeah.
JoJo Feliciano's been the best thing that ever happened to my son, and I'll give a big shout out now.
Yeah.
But having said that, I mean, he played at the Boys and Girls Club, practiced. His tryouts were at the Boys and Girls Club. Lynch School, they practice out quite a bit. St. Stan's in Chicopee, and my son Brendan pretty much lived at the Dunbar Center in Springfield, and so I lived at all those places too. And I can't imagine. I very limitedly helped them with fundraising and whatnot, but I'm flabbergasted by this price. Flabbergasted. I mean, we're trying to keep the kids inside during the winter months. We're trying to keep them, you know, active so they're not doing crazy things. You know, basketball was the best thing that ever happened to my son. And I can only imagine it's the best thing that happened to many sons and daughters, you know, because we have a great girls program too. And I know I see you guys donate or standing out at Dunkin' Donuts, and I don't know how much money you can get doing that, maybe, you know, $1,000 or so, but you don't want to spend all that money going straight to rentals, especially when we have this and people are taxpayers and you're already, you know, we're paying for this, and we have a second shift for maintenance. The maintenance men are already there.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of them going out, you know, on their breaks, getting dinner at different places, so they're working second shift. So and I'm sure you guys, I know JoJo would always at the end of the night sweep up himself. I'm having issues with this, you know, one of the things, I know you guys, we hear the protocol, we can't offer money. What we could do is approve money or cut money. And so what we're gonna do is send it to the mayor and have the mayor look into this. But I would also like to, maybe bring Steven Reich, the receiver in. And I know he's all about trying to keep kids in the right mindset. And if kids are playing, their mind's moving, they're gonna do better in school, they're gonna sleep better. You know, this is crazy. I want to see you guys succeed. And I don't want to see you guys charge that much.
Who was your son's first coach?
JoJo Feliciano. Oh, Tom McGee.
Point that out, thank you. Well, he learned actually how to pass the ball. I was going to say who the first coach was.
And who was the director of the league?
Oh, yeah, Joe McGivern.
Oh,
This is getting reacted all of a sudden, huh?
No love here.
I know.
Yeah.
Boy.
But big props to JoJo Feliciano.
Linda, did you?
Yeah, I just want to state that I'm very much in favor of this program. I think anything to keep the kids active, and I think it's important that we do send a unanimous support to the mayor. And like my chairman said, we really can't do anything with this. I've sent it to him, and maybe have Steven Reich to look at it too. You know, the receiver, to see if they can waive the fee. You know, the custodians are there anyways. I just think there's a way of the school department's trying to bring in some funds, and to keep this going, I think whatever we can do, and I think my colleague, Councilor Lopez, stated about the block grant money. It's possible to see if there's anything in there that could be transferred into this program, because I think this is a great thing. I'm part of the, growing up, you talked about playing football and playing basketball. I remember playing basketball when I was in the 5th and 6th grade all over the city. You know, we go to Morgan School, Metcalf, McMahon, and it was a great thing. It really helped out a lot. So I think this is a great program, and whatever we can do to give us our endorsement to the mayor, I think that's important to say, hey, the finance committee, the council is looking to help out and see if we can even waive the fees or pay this money out of some kind of fund that the mayor can approve. So,
Thank you.
Joe?
Nothing new to say. I think it's all been said correctly. Councilor Sullivan's correct in the attempt and the concept of what he's trying to do. Adopting this order the way it's written, though, is just going to go to the mayor's desk and probably sit there, because we'd be reappropriating monies that have already been appropriated. Custodians, as Peter said, are already on duty. You know, there's no reason to pay for custodians who are there. That's the way we always did it, Mike, is the city opened up the gyms because the custodians are cleaning the classrooms, keep an eye on who's ever in the gym, or have an adult there, a parent or a volunteer. And these guys, need that with these guys, because that's a built-in structure. So it makes no sense to double pay it. Danny's right, it's more about the schools, and I think it's more about the Parks Department for the future, Mike. I think the Parks budget needs to, to buy into the AAU concept and to do more to promote bringing more teams into the city, more Hoyok teams into the AAU. Yeah. And it's not easy. I commend parents and coaches, because it's a lot of work. I can tell you, people doing different sports did it for their life, and it's endless, in terms of hours that is needed to get a good AAU team going. But I think the answer is with Dr. Reich as far as this bill goes, and then maybe we can, get the Parks Department to buy into something for the future.
Anyone else? All right, as everyone was talking, I was writing it up. If you want to change, tell me. A motion would be in order. A motion would be order that the order is complied with a request that the order be sent to the mayor, Parks and Rec, school department, superintendent, asking that CDBG money or other sources of revenue
or just waive it,
be used or waived in order to assist the program.
I make that motion.
Yeah.
I would like to get an answer in 2 weeks, back to the city council.
Good idea. Put a timestamp to it.
Otherwise, we're not gonna.
Not here.
We're never here. It's a good point.
All right, so with a request
For 10 business days?
10 business days. All right, so that's the order. Anyone else? No?
Make a motion to pass it.
Seconded?
Second.
All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
Good luck, we'll take it from there.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming down.
All right, so
time.
the last one on the list, item number 6,
Luck to you
move for
guys.
the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This is the 100 delinquent taxpayers.
I hope not.
There was a request for certain departments to
tax
be
bill today.
here. I see Bellamy, I see Sandra, Sarah stayed as well. So with that,
We did.
we did receive an email copy. Yeah.
Can I ask a question on that, Todd?
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's a person that contacted me that was on that list, one of the hundreds. It's a parcel of land, I believe, $47,000. This person was pretty much saying if we waive the taxes, we could have the land. What would the protocol be on that? Yeah. Is that something the city would be interested in doing? Is that something I should talk to Mark? So should I call you tomorrow? Who,
Send me an email and give me the property and we'll see if it's incidental, because since we've reviewed the list, and I apologize, everybody, for hip surgery, that my assistant has been very good.
what's your name of your assistant? What's the name of the assistant? Oh, no, you keep referring to her as an assistant. I want- Poor person has a name.
A name, yeah.
She has looked into those properties, and we found that there's a lot of problems with the new system, with bad takings from previous tax collectors / treasurers. So there's some serious issues that we need to address.
Like mistakes or?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, big mistakes.
ooh.
We have copies of some of them. Yeah, we have, I have, and I will get this to you, because like I said, she's dug in and
Can she come to the mic?
Yeah.
she's gone online, she's gone to the registry of deeds.
Can she come to the?
Mike, here or inside?
Sandra? Could you come to the mic at all, or come in and sit?
Sit here.
Simply because we'll get the
People.
text start rolling in saying we can't hear her.
Yeah. What's her name? Wait a minute. What's the assistant's again, name? Amy? Shinowski, okay.
Very good to hold down the fort while I was out.
That's good. Yeah,
Okay, well, we could have shared.
I thought she was a person. Me too.
Amy, the mic is on, the seat is cold. Ask Sarah.
Yeah.
All right, so
Okay, so just off the top, Amy went into some of
but
these.
I'm gonna stop you before getting into the list,
Okay,
because this stems from a few people, but mainly Counselor Bresnahan. So I'm gonna turn over to him first to see if he has direct questions, and then we'll go through it from there. Dan?
Thanks, Chairman. Sandy, I just have a couple, maybe not questions per se, but just a couple comments looking over this list. I mean, again, and this is not anything to do with the treasurer's office or the auditor. This is really the law department. I mean, some of these properties are two-family homes. 9 Beacon Avenue, I believe, is that one right on the corner of Beacon Avenue and Pleasant Street. What is that? Thorpe, right? And then we have 3 businesses that are still in operation that owe us taxes, one of which is on Northampton Street, right next to Dunkin' Donuts. I don't want to embarrass anybody and say anyone's names, but I will tell you that, let me just get there. 84 is a business. Number 84 is a business. Number 95 is a business that works for a local tow company as well. And then we have some of these folks that potentially are dead, that we really should be looking at. And I encourage the law department to look at some of these. And I would take, just my thoughts, take 5 buildings, have the building department go out there, drive by it, see if it's anything viable. 118 Newton Street has been abandoned and vacant by the Boys Club for 50 years. I mean, that building, I think, has 4 units in it, and they owe us $500,000. I don't even think Yuri's alive anymore. If he's alive, he's got tubes in him. I mean, he's in Florida from the last time. What's that? Oh, it's gone?
Yeah.
Okay,
The big part of that lien is a demo lien.
all right. So, I mean, maybe if we could, that would be great information to add to this. I mean, this is a great spreadsheet, whoever, I mean, I know Katie put it together, so kudos to her. But again, I just think that a lot of these properties, you know, are two-family homes, single-family homes. You know, when a property on Arlington Street owes us close to $50,000, I mean, I'd be curious to see if there was a receiver out there, a contractor, a carpenter that wanted to get his hands into something like that. Then it becomes off our problem. He forecloses on it, he pays us the money. I mean, it's a process that absolutely works. The city of Springfield, I see him every week in housing court banging these receivers out. I mean, and I know the law department's short, but again, you know, there's a single-family home on Northampton Street. You know, and I, you know, 160, the number 60 lives in Ludlow, 53 lives in Holyoke, 57 is dead, 58 lives in the area, 65 lives very close in the area, owns some property. You know, I'm gonna talk to you guys more, but like personally via email with the law department, 72 would be a great one for a receivership, 76 would be a great one for a receivership. Again, 84 is a local business on High Street, and, you know, 95 is a local business on Northampton Street. And that's just a quick, just from me remembering these gentlemen. So, I mean, businesses should not be operating if they owe us money on a property. And there's 3 businesses that are currently in operation that someone either needs to go down there and shut them down, or they need to get in a tax agreement and get their business permit temporary until they get into some sort of tax plan with us. And Sarah, I'll email you those, the more, you know I read it fast, but, you know, I want us all to go home, but I'll send you those businesses and be like,
There's a good amount of people on this list that I could just rattle off a story about. So if you want to give our office a call, I can tell you exactly where they are, what they're doing. I think the one you're referring to, number 95, is that a property that's for lease right now on Northampton Street? It's a vacant building?
no, it's a Meineke.
Number 95, I might be thinking of the property next door.
Right, there is a
That
there is a
lease.
vacant parcel
Okay, that's
next.
the one I'm thinking of.
Right, but, I mean, yeah, I mean, I could certainly, you know, we could go, maybe we go back and forth via email again and talk about it, but I mean, this spreadsheet is fantastic. I mean, in details like that says, you know, this person or whatever information you can talk about each one of those, I mean, it'd be great to have that on there. And I mean, this should be on our fingertips at all times, just so we know. I mean, it's over $7 million in back taxes it's owed to the city of Holyoke. We could pay off the MD Salon. We could have every baseball team, basketball team, and hockey team that wanted to play any single sport in any arena in the city of Holyoke for free, forever. I mean, so, and I know we can't fix it all at once, but I mean, I really encourage the law department to talk to Lisa DeSusu in Springfield. The AG's office is helping them out of the Springfield office. They have a lawyer that just does the receivership program. I mean, we were banging them out years ago, and I'd love to see that back again, but. So thanks, good work on this.
Attorney, we took that out of the budget.
What's that?
We're supposed to have a receivership attorney, we took that out of the budget.
Right, but I mean, when we used to just send a letter, give the company 10 days to fix it. If they didn't fix it, we sent the pictures in the letter we sent them to the AG's office, and I think his name was Tom, he retired now, he would just run with it. He would do all the work, all the housing court work, the AG's office in Springfield would do it, because this came out of Matt Burge and Martha Coakley, I believe, 15 years ago. And they came and they did a dog and pony show right in this very chamber, and I invited every single contractor I knew within the city of Holyoke, and it was viable. There's probably 35 or 40 of them that were done, that are now, Joe knows one,
Do we
his
know
neighbor.
anybody in that office?
What's that?
Do we know anybody in that office?
Yeah, right. Can you reach
If
out
I
to,
may.
exactly. Let her get a desk first.
Well, I was, you know, Attorney Cunha will now be working with the AG's office on the other hand. And I have to also mention, so Attorney Paul Payer in our office, he has been doing a substantial amount of work in housing court, and he's been really exceptional at it. He is in court 3 days a week now. He has a plethora of cases. He works hand in hand with the Board of Health, and he's really making some progress. And he has been working with the Problem Properties Group. I personally haven't been too involved in that, and unfortunately, Attorney Payer couldn't make it this evening. But he has been working with the Problem Properties Group at looking at the different options and looking at the properties for receivership, and now he'll be working hand in hand with Kara at the Attorney General's office to pursue additional receiverships. Mm-hmm.
Questions?
Well, if I may, before we take any building, make sure that we don't repeat what happened on High Street. We don't want to take anything like that. Okay?
I agree.
Please.
No, absolutely, and it seems that
Can I address that?
Yes.
We are trying our darndest not to take over properties that are not going to turn over a profit.
Good. That's not
That
our
is what we have a problem property group, which is your codes, Board of Health, Law Department, Treasurer's Office. We are working diligently to try not to have that ever happen again. Unfortunately, this list here, since my assistant has dug her feet in and looked at this, I mean, I'll just give you an example. Number 6 was owned by the deaf.
To see who it is.
This one.
Oh, so number 6 is something that had come up, sorry. Number 6 came up in depth today, and we have to work with the assessor's office on this. On the list, it states a gentleman's name. Prior to that, it was a very well-known developer in the city that owned this property, and unfortunately, it carried over into this new buyer's name. The new name purchased the property in 2003, which we have all of the supporting copies of the redemptions that were filed with the Hampden County Register of Deeds when this person on this list purchased the property. And since then, on the assessor's card, it also lists a local school that is a nonprofit. So realistically, if that's all correct and the filings were done properly, number 6 should not exist at all. Because there's a nonprofit school that owns these parcels in conjunction with the gentleman listed. And we found the redemptions or the disclaimer and release of invalid tax taking from 2003 on these properties. So there's a lot of stuff that we've dug up that just really needs to be corrected, and we need to figure out how to do that. And I've reached out to a local CPA firm that was the last one to file the financial statements for this school to see if they do in fact own the property and where these I think it's the 3 ABC form for tax exemption for the school is. Like, we're really working on the list, and we just don't want anybody to think that, oh my God, it's $7 million and it's just sitting there outstanding. Like, this is a lot of work that we're taking on with this, and Paul has been fantastic. There's a lot underlying with a lot of these properties. Like you were talking about number 2, that building has a huge demo lien on it, and there's people in the area that are very interested in the property. The gentleman next door approached me the other day when I was out doing some of the auction follow-up, and he wants it, but we can't do anything with it legally right now. But he told me some backstory, and the building just, I don't know if it was a fire or if it was a demo, but now it's just a vacant lot on Newton Street. So we are definitely working to get rid of this as much as we can. Number 1 just came back up. We have paperwork from Siddell and Siddell that it goes back 21 years. So it's stuff that it's not new. These things are not new to the list, but we're definitely trying to get rid of them.
I'm all right. Well, Sandy, you just said that you don't want to, you definitely don't want to be taking over any buildings. Does your office have any thoughts on the building right next to the Essex House that we're proposing becoming owners of?
Well, again, my thought on that one is if we do take it over, we have a great planning department that can go out there and say, hey, we'll demolish this, or give it to a developer and say, what can you do? There's a lot of interested parties that are willing to come into the city and work with us. You know,
I hope so.
I think we're making progress. It's slow, but we are making progress. I mean, the auction, $250,000. They bought the property sight unseen, as is. If you go over to Greenwood Avenue and see what that developer has done with that 2-family house, you'd be like, wow. If you go over to Morgan Street, where a receiver took over, that was a dump. They have made it nice and livable, and it's back on the tax rolls. So we are working to get them back on the tax rolls, and we're trying to do it diligently, and also with the blessing of the city council. We have taken over, we have foreclosed on a 2-family house on Beacon Avenue through Siddell and Siddell. That will be on my list in the next couple of months, where I can say, here's a list, please approve, so we can put these up for auction in the spring.
So can you guys I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just hoping, so I just don't want this list, this is complied with and it's gonna, on to the next problem, but I'm just hoping that maybe your assistant, we could just update us, even if we get it, even if city council gets it quarterly, every 4 months, we get some update on this.
And a lot of these are going to have to be written off through the Munis system because it was not taken properly or processed. So it's going to hit the receivables. Well, and not only that, but there was a situation, what was it? They took 25 properties at the Registry of Deeds and put it under one book and page.
Years ago.
This was years ago, We had no control over the Registry of Deeds.
Yes, Rory brought that up. It was something that had surfaced when he was working in the tax collector's office, that they were looking for specific properties, and it came up that there was at least 25 that were filed under the same book and page. So we're finding some glitches in quite a few systems, and we're trying to fix them. Or at least make it better for the city.
Yeah. Sandy, you tell me of this $7 million. I've heard, some of these are 21 years old, $500,000. How much of this $7 million is realistically collectible? Or is just how much of this $7 million do you think is going to be written off?
Unfortunately, probably half, if not more.
I was good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the unfortunate out.
the people, the corporations have gone out of business, the people are deceased.
Right.
Right. There's just no venue to really, it's sitting on the books, but it's
Not real.
not real.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that this is going to happen, but it's reality. We'll try to go after the people. I have a lot of properties that are, with Sidell and Sidell, but if I don't get a corporation or a person to take responsibility, then they foreclose and becomes our, I'm not going to say problem.
But-
I'm going to say it's a piece of property that we can auction off and a developer will develop.
It's something
How's
to-
that?
Good. That's a good way to think.
We have to move faster to
Yeah.
write these off
Right,
and get them in the hands
and
of somebody
unfortunately,
productive, and I
this
think
was-
Dan's on the right.
This was given to us during my term,
and-
so it's something that 20 years ago, I probably was still in high school. I'm going to say high school. That doesn't sound good. But I'm willing to address it and deal with it.
So what happens when we write off $6 million?
Well, that reduces our receivables, and that's something that the auditor and I would have to talk about. We might not do it all in one. We'd have to also discuss with the outside auditors, because that would also affect, I believe, the free cash. So it's not something I want to do right away. It'll take time over the years.
Right.
And maybe I can redeem some of it, who knows, with an auction.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I just had a brief comment, and I think this is great that you find this, and you're putting a lot of work into it, and it's amazing that even with the auctions, we can do some stuff. We found out tonight with some of that money, could possibly pay off a lawsuit and possibly, get the new police cars, which is important, and as time goes on, more will be coming in. But my comment is, and I'm sure you're doing it now, is some of this stuff went back 20, 25 years. That seems like things weren't taken care of right away. Follow it up, and I know you're going to do that now, and that's my concern is to keep track, with the law department and with the, tax collectors and the treasurer, to make sure that these things are ongoing. As soon as something happens or somebody gets behind that, we can try to catch it right away, like nip it in the butt, really do it right away as soon as we can, possibly legally, so that this doesn't continue on in the future, because it's a lot of money. People say, well, why am I going to pay my taxes? These people haven't paid for years, $7 million, and as you stated, most of that is going to be written off. And anything we can collect, even if it's a fraction of that, 200, 300, 400,000 is a plus for the city. And plus you're putting some of these properties, as you stated, back on the tax rolls, and people are fixing them. Neighborhoods are getting cleaned up, Greenwood Avenue or Beacon Avenue, decent areas anywhere in the city, even Newton Street, where people can take these properties and do something with it, you know, I think that's a great plus. So I just commend you for the work you're doing, especially assistant. You know, first time meeting you tonight that we do this work and we let the public know that, you know, you're doing the job, you're following up, and that you know, hopefully things will come into the city and money will come into the city and we'll just prosper. So thank you.
Just a quick comment. I just want to say I'm really encouraged by the collaboration, by the initiative in your office, but also the collaboration between departments, because I think that was a big missing thing in the past. And I do appreciate you being upfront about the possibility that 50% of those are not collectible. And I really hope that you will, on a quarterly basis, update us so that we don't get a sense of false optimism. And then as we understand that we have better and better control and figure out how to handle the old things in a way that doesn't sort of blow the whole budget, I think if we're all working together and we have that level of transparency, it's going to help the whole city. So thank you very much.
I will say on this list, on the top, I believe it's the top 4 are vacant properties, or vacant parcels, I'm sorry, where the large dollar amount is due to a demolition lien on most of them, whether it was a fire or a collapse. Since this list has been published, we've actually had abutters come forward and want to purchase these, not for this dollar amount, but at least we know we have interested parties on Newton Street, on Maple Street, on Hampshire Street. There still is people interested in these parcels. So that was a positive that, yes, unfortunately, we'll have to write some of this off, but it will then get back into the positive.
And at least the public is aware. And prior to this, they wouldn't even have known that it was a possibility. So, thank you.
Michael?
And, you know, just so the public's aware, I think, and let me know if there's a $500,000 owed or 250,000 owed on this parcel. I'll bet the offer coming in is for around $10,000.
Well, they'll be low. There's no doubt about it.
All right.
What would they give a high one?
Yeah.
Willing buyer, willing seller.
But at the same time, we get the 10,000 and they build a building on it, then the taxes.
Correct. We've got to get.
we
We've got to move on.
yeah.
We've got
We have to
to
bite the
take our
bullet
lumps
on
and
the
move
10
on.
And hope that they build a nice building and revenue comes in.
Correct. Anyone else? All right, so before Dan left, Dan said he was happy with all the information, so a motion that's been complied with.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you all very much for coming down.
Motion adjourned? Yeah.
Second.
Don't debate it, all in favor, all opposed?
See you guys all tomorrow.
There's only like 5 things on the agenda? Oh, it could be some talk about this, yeah. That could be a line. You see that crowd tonight? It'll be bigger tomorrow night, probably. I'm just guessing. Maybe not.